Now, through your travels in the NFL, who is the one coach that you would point to that really elevated your level of play, that really taught you things that kind of blew your mind, so to speak, where you just said, wow, this guy just knows football, and I'm so happy to be working with him. I mean, can you point to one guy that you've worked with?
I can't point to one because that'd be unfair to the other two that I had in mind. Mike Shanahan drafted me. He saw something in me. I'm thankful for that opportunity, first and foremost. Second of all, Dave Wanstead brought me to Miami. And I really didn't know if I was going to stick here. He brought me in. He was just going to put me on a practice squad, I believe. And my practice habits and my will to stay on the team. And I ended up being in Miami for 6 years. And the third guy is Eric Mangini. He was the first coach that actually demanded the mental part out of the game from me. He opened up my eyes to, I guess it comes down to situational football, just understanding situations, understanding that, when you're faced with a certain opponent, that certain opponent is going to go to a series or a specific amount of plays, and you have to expect it. And so the cerebral part of the game became open to me about 3 years ago.
Now let's talk a little bit about the Cleveland Browns. In my opinion, and I've said it before, we had the privilege to talk with Eric Wright, your cornerback there, and we've talked a little bit about the Browns. And I think that the AFC North is the toughest division in the AFC, if not all of football. I know the NFC East has some beasts over there,
yeah,
and the NFC North is getting better too. But the AFC North has got teams that can obviously do some big things. They could probably all win 10 games. You guys
right.
know that going in, that the Ravens are tough, the Steelers are tough, the Bengals proved last year that they're good. What do you guys specifically need to do to compete with these guys and find yourself in the postseason? Because it wasn't too long ago that the Browns won, the AFC North. Everybody kind of forgets about that, but it was just a few years back, when you won the division. So what is it going to take, do you think, for you guys to get back on top?
I think what it boils down to is not actually putting pressure on ourselves to win 10 games. Last year at the end of the season, we ended up winning 4 in a row because we didn't have anything to look forward to, first of all, and second of all, we took it week to week. And I know that's cliche to say, but I seriously believe that taking it week to week gives you the best chance to succeed in this league in the long run. You talk about 16 weeks. Teams start out 0-2, teams start out 6-0, and one might make the playoffs and one might not. And I think that, Denver was a perfect example last year. They came out red hot and didn't do too well at the end of the season. So not expecting to do much, I think, is the best thing. And just going out there, taking it week to week, knowing that the game plan is going to be different week to week and that winning the game is going to be different weekly as well.
Mm-hmm. I agree with you. A lot of guys that we've talked to and that I've had the privilege to speak with talk about continuity. And they talk about the ability to gel as a unit, to gel as a team, and getting in those reps with the same personnel. Do you find it difficult when new guys are rotated in? Like, for example, this year you got new personnel up and down the board pretty much. You got probably a new running back in Montario Hardesty. You got new quarterbacks. You got a lot of changes going on. Holmgren's coming in. He's probably going to add his philosophy a little bit to the way you go about things. I know Mangini comes from that Patriot system, so it'll probably be still, his show. But, Holmgren's probably going to add a little West Coast offense flair, I'd have to imagine. What do you think? What's the easiest way to gel? I mean, if everybody says you gotta get continuity, what's it take to get continuity other than time?
Well, what it was is the way we installed our offensive defense during the OTAs and minicamp. I mean, rookies got there and they had an 8-inch playbook first day. And it was like they were so overwhelmed with it. But the way we installed it, it was kind of refreshing to see, because a lot of things to me, because I've been running the same scheme, becomes a little redundant. So they kind of split installation up a little bit. They gave everyone the playbook, and they offered study table. They offer so many options for these rookies to learn and give them the best chance to make the team. And like I said during OTAs and mini camp, they just threw everything on the board and whatever stuck, we guys. That's the best way to get some chemistry is the way we installed. I mean, we put everything in that we had, except for the few, weekly adjustments that we make for specific teams. But everyone's not coming to training camp dumb. Everyone has a good concept of, coverages, a good concept of situations. I mean, we ran so many situations at these young guys. I mean, they understand now. I mean, they can watch a football game right now from an NFL replay and understand that if it's a 2-minute drive, what's going to happen? If it's if it's 4 minutes left and one team needs to get the ball back, what's going to happen? There's so many different situations that our rookies are so aware of now that when we hit training camp in a few days, I mean, it's going to be full speed.
Now, is there one guy that you can point to that you've looked at? I know it's hard because you haven't had pads on, and everybody says the game changes when it starts to get physical. But you've had a little time to see some of these new guys come in. Is there anybody that you can point to that you think, wow, this guy, he looks good early, and you could tell he's a player?
I like Larry Asante. My first thing is when I look at rookies and I evaluate, my personal evaluation of if a guy's going to help us or not. I look at if he can think, if he's fast, if he's a quick thinker, if he's talking, he's helping other people out. And Larry Asante really stood out to me. I mean, the guy, he comes out there, from what I can tell, he's not having many mental errors. He's helping everyone out. Joe Hayden is a beast. Him and Eric Wright and Brandon McDonald, I mean, that's going to be a tough decision. You can't only start two, but all three of them are going to play. Brandon McDonald had a heck of a camp. And I could just see it in his eye that he's hungry. There's so many guys. I mean, it's not just one that stands out, but I guess if I had to pick one, I would pick Larry.
We want to thank you so much, David, for coming in and talking with us today. We really appreciate you taking the time to join us on SkinnyPost.com and giving us some of your insight. We wish the Cleveland Browns a ton of success this year, and we wish you personally a ton of success. Thanks so much for being on our site. It's great to have you.
Appreciate it, Steve. I'll talk to you, man.
Sounds good. This is Steve O'Reilly, and that's David Bowens. This is SkinnyPost.com. We're giving you the skinny 24/7.